Hey, welcome back. This is Shah. I wanted to react to an old clip from Fresh and Fit where they had Abba and Preach on the show, and they were discussing kind of the pros and cons if prostitution was legalized and how that would affect the dating market. This was before the beef between both of them got bad. I think this was actually kind of what set it off, but let's go and watch it together.
What did you guys? Because you guys had a conversation about
yeah,
this?
so we did if you guys want, go ahead and check out. We did an episode why you shouldn't pay for it, guys.
Yeah.
And we talked about the detriments of paying for it. Even though we personally,
I want to hear this. Then. Why shouldn't you pay? If you can do a brief one, just a brief one.
Yeah. So we came up with a couple of reasons. Some of the bigger ones was the girl's not going to respect you on the same level. You're not going to get that genuine desire bedroom fun. You're going to get that transactional fun, which for some guys that's good enough. You know, some guys have never experienced enthusiastic bedroom fun with a girl, and they're just content with doing the starfish thing. It's fine. Like, we don't knock guys that do it, but what we are saying is that there's some consequences that come with it. So one, you're not going to get the validational bedroom fun. Number two, she ain't going to respect you. And then number three, what I've experienced with a lot of guys, since we've coached like hundreds, if not thousands of men at this point, is a lot of guys that do this all the time and pay for it. What happens is they start to have a very negative feeling towards women. They have a deep resentment towards them because they kind of see the dark side of female nature with that, where they don't, they can no longer look at women with the same objective lens. They start to resent them and hate them because they're like, I have to pay this girl my hard-earned money to get any type of attention from her, and they don't really experience the benefits that come from dealing with women, and it gets them very jaded. And
if you're a guy and you have no charm or skills or game or anything with women, and you're kind of limited to only having that kind of sex and you're constantly paying for it, if you can't get a true emotional connection, then I can see a resentment developing. On the complete opposite end of the coin, if you're a woman and you're looking for a guy to actually like you, but you constantly keep running into guys that are just trying to have sex with you and they don't want an emotional connection, the women too can also develop a type of resentment. And, you know, he mentions the man seeing the dark side of female nature. On the other hand, women see the dark side of men's nature, sexual nature, when they encounter a guy who's just looking for sex. I think that the great hypocrisy in our society is that male heterosexuality is demonized. Like, if a guy just wants sex, like, you know, you're a bad guy. And women who then cater to that, prostitutes, are seen as lower value or trash women. And I think it's because of this view that our culture shares on that it makes it very hard to want to legalize prostitution, because we don't respect prostitutes as humans. We don't respect men who have sexual needs as worthy or as, you know, genuine people. They're like bad guys.
Also, remember this, right? When you're paying for the P sleeve or the P box, what happens is you get lazy. So the game is out the window now, because guess what? Now you're relying on your money, leading with your wallet to get the girl. But once again, that girl's only there for the money. So there's no respect. There's no genuine desire. And in this scenario right here, I know you said some guys are married and they go behind the scenes, whatever, but deep down, a man wants to be desired by a woman. And this is why people pay for OnlyFans, because they want the one-on-one with a girl. They want that genuine desire. If you just pay for it, okay, I'll smash you.
There's a reason why cam girls make so.
See, I don't know if I agree with that. I don't think if it was legalized, suddenly men would become lazy. I mean, first of all, it's not free. And I think if a guy has that much money to be paying for it on the regular like that, well, he's got to be doing something to make that money. You know, I mean, it's not free sex we're talking about. It's prostitution, which is the sale of it. So I don't know if he's right about it turning men lazy.
Can self-improvement and prostitution coexist, or will men become spoiled and lazy?
Men will become spoiled and lazy.
I mean, men are already spoiled and lazy any damn way.
I guess for the most part, because you don't have to really try to get a girl, you just got to pay for it.
It will make life a lot easier for men, so they would never do that.
Were the men of the past spoiled and lazy when prostitution was legal?
No, because they were hardworking men and they had to have money to go spend it.
Absolutely not. They probably were the most hardworking men in the world, because, you know, you could go get your rocks off and then you can go to work.
The thing is, right, if you're out there in the dating world and you're looking for that validation, I completely understand. Sometimes it's Saturday night and you just want to get your rocks off, and you know somebody who knows how to tickle your balls the right way. You feel me? So you hit up, right? Like whether it's a booty call or whether it's something you paid for, like if you got the disposable funds for it, it's really not a thing.
Yeah.
And I say this because I know some girls who work in escorting, and they tell me like they got regular dudes, very respectful. They follow the same protocol, and for them, it's just a good way to get their rocks off because they're into weird stuff, or maybe they're just like, man, I ain't got time. I work too much. I'm in town for a weekend. You ready? Cool. Let's go. Let's do this. And it's simple. So there's a market for it. I would agree that if guys are lonely, or if they want that validation, that's not the way to go. Yeah. But for a lot of other dudes, sometimes it's just purely.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the.
Abba's right here. And the reason there's a market for it is because men have needs, sexual needs. Sometimes that's all men are concerned about, and they just want sex. Now, I think if it was legalized and that was an option, then maybe what you'd see is the people who are actually in the dating market would be there for the right reasons. And that might make dating better nowadays because people aren't in there, trying to game each other to try to get a short-term win on everybody.
If prostitution was legal, would men still get married?
Yeah, but it would be married for the right reasons, which is the way that it's supposed to be. And now it's just all about money. Everything in this world is just all about money now, and women take a great advantage of that because they know that men make the majority of the money.
If prostitution was legal, do you think there would be less gold diggers and sugar babies?
Oh, yes, 100% there would be, because at that point, like I said, there would be a lot more legal services out there. So, the men who do, like the gold diggers, like the old men who have younger girlfriends, or the men who pay for like a girl to be with them for long-term relationships, they would know that they have a service. So whenever they wanted, they can just go pay for it that price instead of having to pay a fortune for another girl.
So wouldn't women be the ones who are less spoiled and lazy?
I guess, caught me there, I guess, in a sense. Yeah, you could say that.
Guy, which is why we said we don't knock it. We get a lot of guys do it, but if you want to truly get good with women and get that desire and see the better side of females, I tell guys it's in your best interest to not pay for it. And then the other thing too, I personally, I disagree respectfully with you guys. I do think if the pro-institution is legalized, it would change the dating landscape to a minor degree, not significantly, but it would make women have to kind of step up their game a bit to be able to like get a guy to lock them down. Because if guys, this is what's going on in Colombia. You know what I'm saying? And I know some other countries it hasn't affected them, but women tend to be a little bit more pleasant, feminine because when they understand that, okay, the guys can get bedroom fun from outside sources. I need to bring something else to the table.
I think it would change the dating landscape a little bit. He's saying it would do it a little bit. I think it would help a lot because right now, women, it's easier for them to procure sex just because generally men are chasing them and they have more options. Where for men, it's a lot harder. And if it was legalized, then men would have that as an option and might make them a little less desperate in the dating market. And if they're less desperate in the dating market, then, women would kind of have to change their behavior a little bit in terms of how they approach dating. So I do think it would have an effect.
I'm going to say, though, that country is a very unique spot because of the fact that there's an economic issue there.
Yeah.
All right. Women here are not trying to escape poverty like they are over there. They need a meal ticket. So when women are acting completely different over there, it's because of that, part one. And two, listen, prostitution, it has its ups and downs. It's fine, but it's never going to be a substitute for real companionship.
Of course.
And I think, generally speaking, if your argument is that it's going to make the dating market worse for ladies, right?
Slightly. It's not going to impact it a lot, but I will say it will hurt women, especially that want to get into long-term relationships as well.
Okay. Because remember, right? Their standards are very high now. They're entitled. But when the girl next door can just say, hey, $20, you could come smash me. Now she has to part her game up because now. So isn't that a good thing? They have to lower their standards?
Oh, no. I'm saying that's what we're saying. That is a good thing for men. That is a good thing for men.
That's a change. So it's not just a good thing for men. It's good for everybody. If more people start to shack up, because people stop being like crazy with their standards, I think we all gonna be happy. Because you go to countries,
I think it will improve it.
You go to Amsterdam, positive change. Yeah, if you go to countries where it's legalized, it's not like people are not marrying or cohabiting or doing all this stuff. They're still able to do it. I think it might be good because at the end of the day, it's already happening. People know where to get it.
I do think it would change the dating landscape. Essentially, when I look at the red pill, I think the red pill has very good dating strategies for short-term dating. But it doesn't have any answers for long-term because right now, currently, the marriage laws aren't there. People are upset with them. That's one thing. But and the advice generally is, become high value and make a lot of money, and then you'll have a lot of options. But once the man is high value, then he's also a high value target. And if you're trying to attract, these quote unquote delusional women anyways by meeting these delusional standards, is essentially what you're doing. It's like, oh, women expect men to make this much money or to this or that or to be super in shape. And then let's say you meet those standards. Now you're dealing with that kind of woman, and which is kind of a gold digger basically. And it's like, well, okay, are you going to want to commit long term to that person? Probably not. And the red pill doesn't really give a solution for that. And we saw this kind of come to a head also on the Fresh and Fit podcast when Sneeko and Destiny were on, and they had that debate with Rollo about what a high value man is when he had advised people to get a vasectomy.
Yeah, do you agree with pretty much everything else except for the vasectomy part?
The first three is weird because then I don't even know what the red pill idea of a high value man is. Is it just being rich? Like, what's the point of having all this money and not having a family? Why be that rich? The guy who's always grinding. Whoa, Brandon Carter doesn't have to do his laundry. Sick. What else are you going to do with your life?
Right. Maybe this is actually meant so that you'll get it. You'll have a freaking epiphany about all the shit that you have to sacrifice to get to that in the first place. What are you willing to sacrifice? Are you willing to live the kind of life, let's say like a Brandon Carter is, where you're going to outsource your entire life? Or are you going to actually have kids? Is that something that's a priority for you? Because I will tell you right now that if you follow this if you were to actually follow this list right here, that is the fastest way for you to get to a point where you are more high value.
And that kind of showed this sort of chink in the red pill armor, or at least, a weakness in a lot of the philosophy. Because right now, a lot of these guys are, pushing the self-improvement narrative really, really, really heavy. And especially Fresh and Fit, that's like their main thing.
So average guys, I'll be honest with you guys, it's tough out here. It's real tough. The average guy, 5'9", about what, $40,000 a year? Most women don't even want to look your way. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is, and that's shown through our show. So how do you get around this? The way to get around it now is you just have to become better. If you want to play the game, what are you going to do? Well, you need to get in shape, number one. Number two, you got to get your money on point. And then number three, you got to understand female nature, which means inevitably you're going to have to learn game.
See, that's pretty much the standard talking points for nowadays. And it's not just Fresh and Fit, it's a lot of creators. Yeah, I mean, okay, if you don't have any other options, then you have to try to become high value, but it's not feasible for everybody to do that. There's always going to be this large contingent of average people. And if you can't, get with someone every now and then, having another option available makes sense. But, most of the content creators are advocating for the self-improvement thing. And I think that we should be focusing way more on men's rights in terms of changing the laws, which could include laws for prostitution and also, in my opinion, more importantly, family law, like paternity laws, custody, child support, spousal, the way divorce is written up with no fault versus at fault, and all these kinds of things is the only thing that can really help men at the end of the day. What I see with a lot of the podcasts, I almost kind of see it and I was like, they've just kind of given up on fighting the fight. One thing I respect feminists is that at least they kind of came together and were able to change the legal system to favor them, and maybe even favor them way too much now. They were able to get the vote, equal rights, and all these other things, but now what we see is women aren't held to a traditional standard anymore, but men are held to a traditional standard. And more so with self-improvement, the self-improvement thing only really tells men to step into that traditional standard more than you've ever had to before in order to try to please women that are not traditional. So in my opinion, you're just kind of shooting yourself in the foot. Now, you might be saying, well, you can still self-improve and then not simp or not give these women any money or anything like that. Okay, but then you hit this point where you can only really have perpetual short-term options anyways, because you can never fully commit to someone without fear of getting screwed over. And if it's just going to be perpetual short-term encounters, then you might as well just legalize prostitution, because they're essentially going to be meaningless anyways. The only other thing you can possibly get is, well, I got her soul or whatever, or I got her to like me, but I didn't really like her, and, she's pissed, and I won the game, so to speak. But again, that's just still more short-term gratification. So I think right now the red pill has this problem where it's done a very good job of providing strategies for short-term gain in terms of helping men to get laid or deal with women in that way, or to avoid certain long-term pitfalls that can screw you, especially from marriage. But it hasn't really provided a long-term answer. And we're still wrestling with society to try to get a suitable long-term answer that makes men and women both happy. I suggested a kind of quasi-red pill long-term answer, which is horribly unethical, but you can get your short-term stuff on the side. And then what you can do is, if you're going to get married under the current no-fault divorce laws, then marry a woman that makes as much, if not more money than you. Come a couple notches down on the ladder, looks-wise, find a nice pharmacist or nurse. She makes maybe 10 to 15K a month. Get married to her, and then if you're going to want to do this, spin plates on the side. Essentially, you're just taking the gold digger strategy and you're applying it back to women as they start to make more money now. Now, is that a good thing to do? Probably not. But the more people who decide to do that, unfortunately, it might make women start calling for changing family law, because suddenly they'll be on the other end where they're now paying alimony and child support. When I worked at the child support agency, it was still mostly men paying, but there was a noticeable trend of women having to pay child support going up. It was just something I noticed before I stopped working there. Anyways, let me know what you think down below. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and we'll see you on the next one.